through storms, unshaken, unbowed. Through trials and verdicts, still standing proud. A titan in the tempest, against the raging crowd. He's got a vision for the future, gonna shout it aloud. Changing the wind, it's coming fast. A new foundation built to last. Cryptocurrency's the key, make the big switch. Power to the people, time to teach the rich. Legal battles can't hold him, he's moving on. With plans so bold, from dusk till dawn. He's rewriting the rules, a new dawn's day. From the hands of the few to the people's way.
Nice house, which if he died I would get, but I'm pretty sure he had. Those cops have nice hats too, and they have like revolvers and whatnot. Wouldn't mind getting a hold of that, huh? Fine, we'll take care of this together, Sean, but you better be wise about your score.
Y'all are too cute.
Oh, hang on there, they're moving.
Welcome, everyone, to the Crazy Kryptonaut channel. I am Zester, and thank you guys so much for joining us for our Trump Day. I hope everyone enjoyed the kitty kisses that came right before the stream started. They were having quite a fun time together the other evening, and, well, I just had to take a video for everybody. I had to. And so, how is everyone doing? How is everyone doing? Oh, what's up? What is up? And it looks like we came in. Well, Jeremy was our first one to come in with a good afternoon. What's up, Jeremy? But it seems like Musical Lady might have beat him on the like button. And so, what's up, Musical Lady? Oh, and Kukla, thank you so much for being here and for everything that you do as always. And welcome, Gary, coming in at number 5 today on the like button. Gary, man, you have some really, really good ones in terms of the jokes today. There were a few. The cryptid currency from the Sasquatch was one that I'm definitely going to have to highlight when that one comes up in the chat. Hope you're having a great one, man. Welcome, June. Oh, and Mile High Trish. Welcome. All right. I'm going to try to catch up some, though, because I got to get some of these Gary 7 jokes in here today. He had some top quality ones. Welcome, Meemaw. Thank you so much for joining us today. But yeah, Gary 7 says, Zester, I sold my cabin out in the mountains to Sasquatch. He paid me in cryptid currency. I thought that one was top quality. I bet many folks, Gary, may not know that term in terms of cryptid, but I thought it was absolutely hilarious. And David Lewis, thank you so much for my Apple, man. I greatly appreciate it. Greatly appreciate it. All right, though. All right. I don't know how many more hellos I'll be able to get through. The chat is leaving me behind. But an important one, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into the news and we're going to jump into the information. As always, thank you, Kukla, for making certain I put this out properly. Please keep in mind that the content in this podcast is for education and entertainment purposes alone and is not intended to provide financial or legal advice. Please consult with a financial or legal advisor before making any investment decisions. It's an important one. As I've said before, I'm too pretty for prison, and that's a silly reason to go. And so please keep in mind, guys, that I am here for education and entertainment. I'm here to teach you the things that will keep you safe. Unfortunately, I can't do it all on my own. And so definitely an important one. What's up, Patricia Lee and Mary Jones and Gigi and Amy Owens? Oh, and Savvy. Thank you guys all so very, 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 very much for being here this evening. And we're going to jump right into it. Ultimately, we've had some time to process the information that we got from the Monday announcement from Trump himself and from the Trump children and from the World Liberty Financial team. I don't know, in terms of everyone watching, how many sat there with us for the entire watch party. It ended up being a long night on Monday. It started at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We ended up going darn near 3 hours from start to finish. And so what I'm going to start with is a recap of what went on during the World Liberty Financial announcement. What did Trump talk about? And then we'll jump into a little bit more about World Liberty Financial and all the questions I assume many people in the community have. It was an absurdly long night. Definitely big thumbs up to Kukla and to Jeremy and to Mile High Trish for sitting with us that evening, because it was a very, very long night. I totally understand everyone that decided it was going too long. I didn't think it was going that long. That was not a part of anything that had been announced. I was expecting an hour and a half. That honestly is what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be about an hour and a half, and we were going to get to head off with a bunch of interesting information. What we ended up getting, though, is we ended up with, for those that have not watched, and I would not suggest to everyone going through and watching the entire 2 hours and 45 minutes. There were very interesting parts of it, but ultimately there was a fair amount of wasted time. So, to give that recap to everyone who is interested in it, the first, I would say, about 45 minutes. So it started at 8 p.m. We had a very, very short time frame where we heard from kind of a person who was just setting the stage. And then they interviewed Donald Trump for about 45 minutes. Now, what was very interesting during the interview with Trump was some of the new information that came out in regards to the second assassination attempt. And so Donald Trump talked about that for a little while, talked about what he had been hearing, how he feels about it. Not crypto related, but it came in the same interview, and it being the first major interview for Donald Trump following the attempt on the golf course this last weekend, it makes sense to have a few questions about it. And then Donald Trump went in with the interviewer into a lot of more grandiose or general discussions about cryptocurrency. He didn't talk about World Liberty Financial. He talked about crypto as an overarching idea. Now, I have some of the things written down that I really want to cover that he talked about. One of those in particular is that the United States has got to lead in regards to countries around the world in terms of cryptocurrency and artificial intelligence. He did bring that into the conversation. It was not expected for him to start talking about AI, but he did. He said that the United States has got to lead in regards to crypto and AI, and that under a Trump administration, the United States would be. He pointed specifically at China as being that major opponent in regards to that. He said in regards to AI and cryptocurrency, that if we don't do it, China will. And I would absolutely agree with him on that point. When it comes down to it, if we're not at the forefront of the industry, we are going to get left behind, and other nations are going to take that role. Total agreement in terms of that. As he continued forward, he talked about financing not being available for a vast majority of people around the world. And he talked a lot about how his kids are very, very big on this crypto thing. So he talked about, and he did not very often use specific names in terms of which Trump child he was discussing. He just talked about them in a very general fashion. He said that they know a ton about this. I think at one point he even mentioned that Barron knows a ton about it, and that Barron Trump, this would be the 18-year-old, has 4 different crypto wallets, and that he knows tons about how crypto works. And so Trump is listening to the youth, I guess, in regards to this. He's listening to his kids. But it seemed as if in the first 45 minutes that Donald Trump had a fair understanding of how crypto and its specifically decentralized finance worked. He's definitely not for centralized digital currencies. He's not for CBDCs. But other than that, we didn't really get any major juicy details from the president himself. Now, following the president speaking in the interview with him, which was done by Farouk on Twitter. Farouk is a Montreal-based crypto bro, as he would commonly call himself. He's a cryptocurrency guy. I think he's pretty similar to my age. He might even be a year or two younger, who is based in Canada and does cryptocurrency related projects. And so Farouk was interviewing the president of the United States, which I was a little upset about. I'd kind of like that gig. But following that interview, we then had about 2 hours of the World Liberty Financial team and the Donald Trump children, Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr., on the X Spaces or Twitter Spaces, or I'm just going to make up a word for it if we don't figure out what we're going to call it soon, because half the time it's Twitter Spaces, half the time it's X Spaces. I hate that duality. I'd rather just have a specific word to utilize. But needless to say, getting past my issues with the rebranding of Twitter, we had them jumping back and forth. So at times during the rest of the conversation, Eric Trump would run off to do an interview on Fox News, and then he'd come back to talk. Donald Trump Jr. would run off to do an interview on Fox or Newsmax, and then he would come back. It was very disorganized. It was very, very disorganized. It sounded like, and I think one of the comments actually that someone made, that it seemed almost voyeuristic, is apropos, because ultimately it seemed like we were listening to a private conversation. We were listening to some people have a conversation that was not meant for us. It was not meant for the public. It sounded like they were just kind of going through their general philosophy on what blockchain technology is capable of. And I agree that a lot of what they talked about during those preceding 2 hours was very interesting. It was very, very interesting. But it was not for the public. It was, I think Jeremy and I talked about it right after the stream. That sounds like a conversation that I had in 2016, 2015, when everything suddenly started to make sense in terms of what blockchain technology was capable of. And I had that eureka moment of, holy crap, with this technology, we can do this, and we can do this, and we can solve this, and we can create a sense of at least equality of opportunity, not equity of outcome or equality of outcome, but we can make equality of opportunity a universal idea. And it's very, very exciting when you first get to that point and you realize what this technology is capable of. It's insanely exciting. And those are conversations I had now going on 9-10 years ago. And it kind of seemed like we were listening in to them having that conversation for the first time, as if the Trump kids and the World Liberty financial team had just suddenly realized what this technology is capable of. And they were going back and forth about it. There were a few points in there that I think the Donald Trump kids and the Donald Trump family honestly deserve crap for. I mean, one of the ones I found particularly amusing was Donald Trump Jr. stating that since his dad has gotten into politics, their company has had a very difficult time accessing financing and loans. Well, and that he feels like that means he can relate with the average American. Well, I wasn't born to a billionaire. And so ultimately, the idea that my real estate empire is not capable of receiving loans and financing is not a relatable term. It's not a relatable line to discuss. It doesn't make any sense for him to share that when we have got a giant group of Trump supporters out here sitting. We don't have the ability to worry about whether our real estate empire is able of accessing quality loans and quality financing. Sorry, I don't have a real estate empire. So in all honesty, some of those things that they discussed were definitely off-putting, in my opinion, and something that I would highly advise the Trump administration to avoid in the future. We know that you have a lot of money. You don't need to tell us anymore. We know that. It's one of the reasons we support you is because you're a successful businessman and a family of people that are successful in business. And our country needs to be run in a way where we're focused on success. We know that. I just don't think it's really the right message to share it in the way that they did. But ultimately, it's a good thing. I'm glad that the Trump family and that Donald Trump himself is a successful businessman. That's a part of the reason that he should be in charge of our country at this point in time, because we have got to get this business back up and running properly. Matter of fact, I think we're effectively, as a country, we're something like kitchen nightmares with Gordon Ramsay. We need whatever the equivalent of Gordon Ramsay is for countries to show up to put this thing back on the right track. And so, that's a very small qualm that I had in regards to what they were talking about. Otherwise, let's get down to the nitty gritty. After 2 hours of pontificating, we got to the point where members of the World Liberty financial team, in particular, Zach Folkman and Chase Hero. My apologies to Chase if I mispronounced his last name. It's Hero with 2 R's. Hero. Hero. I'm going with Hero until I'm told that I'm wrong. Zach Folkman and Chase Hero came out and gave us some information about what World Liberty Financial is actually about. World Liberty Financial, and so we'll start from the beginning. World Liberty Financial is going to be a crypto platform that is also a cryptocurrency token. It is going to be built on the Ethereum blockchain. These are very, very important nuances. The Ethereum blockchain, it's not being built on the XRP ledger. It's not being built on the Stellar chain. It's not being built on any of the other various layer 1 or crypto coins, blockchains out there. It's being built on Ethereum. The World Liberty Financial Token, going by the token symbol of WLFI, will have 63% of the tokens sold to the public. Now, we're going to stop here before I go through the rest of the numbers, and we're going to discuss what they shared about the 63% that will be publicly available, that people can buy. The only people that will be allowed to buy that 63% of the tokens will be accredited U.S. investors. Only accredited U.S. investors will be allowed to buy the World Liberty Financial Token when it is on public sale. For all those who are curious, if you're an accredited investor, you're probably not. I'm not. An accredited investor brings in over $300,000 per year on salary and has hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank. I do not have either of those things. And so I am not an accredited investor. And please don't, guys, if anyone here is an accredited investor, do not shout out that you are, because that's painting a big old X on your back to get scammed. But ultimately, I would bet that 99.99999% of all Trump supporters are not accredited investors. I find that to be extremely upsetting. I am not allowed to participate. And thank you, Jeremy, actually, for that. That's a great one to include there. Jeremy Nalawak adds, an accredited investor is an individual entity that meets specific financial criteria, such as having a net worth exceeding $1 million, excluding their primary residence, or earning an annual income of at least $200,000, $300,000 if they're married. This status allows them to invest in certain high-risk, unregistered securities, typically not available to the general public. Thank you, Jeremy. That's a far more concise than my very general overview of it, and that is true. That's an accredited investor. That is not. I don't have that. I don't have it, and so I'm not allowed to buy. I'm personally a little upset about that. Now, beyond that, the reason that they did it that way, and so Michelle Newth says, Esther, why do you think they said it that way? Michelle, the reason that they did it that way is because of the SEC laws. That's the reason. It's because of the current U.S. regulations coming from the Security Exchange Commission, which state that any public sale of cryptocurrency is essentially illegal. That's the reason that they did it the way they did. Is it right? No, it is not right. And it's not acceptable. And if that's the only way to do it, don't do it, would be my answer immediately in that situation. If the average American is not allowed to participate, why do it? But the reason they are doing it that way, I understand from being in the industry. Ultimately, it is a huge gray area. A huge gray area when it comes to making a sale of that kind to the public. There is no legal framework. And so with the election, with the campaign, with them being one of the most famous families on the entire planet, they can't enter into a gray area in regards to the law. That could destroy the presidency. That could destroy the election. They can't enter into that gray area. And so they're not going to allow for the sale to be for the average American. Now, something else here that I think is important to point out that for many of us doesn't seem like a big worry is that also you have to be a U.S. resident. That in and of itself is both a good thing and a bad thing. Okay, we want the United States to be in control of any major future financial system. We want that to happen, obviously. A certain degree of us is selfish. We want it to be us. Why wouldn't we be? Anybody else would do it. Everybody else would do it. Everybody would want it to be them. They would want their country, their nation to be the one at the forefront of this development. but I have a problem with it. I strongly believe that we do not need a system that is designed entirely just for Americans. If the system doesn't work for everybody, it doesn't work for us either. If we're going to create another hierarchical society where the US dollar reigns supreme over all others, we're going to have the same problems we're facing today come back to us eventually in the future. We can't set things up the same way and expect a different result. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And so I oppose essentially both parts of this. Accredited investor, unacceptable. Only US residents, also, I believe, to be unacceptable. Do I think that it should be potentially gate kept at a certain point where we don't allow foreign influence to get but such a large percentage? Yes, I think that would make a lot of sense. I don't want China owning 30% of this token. I wouldn't want that either. But I also don't understand the general logic of doing it that way, besides the fact that's how the SEC rules are written. And so, if you are going to fundraise in this way, you are only allowed to raise from US citizens who are accredited investors. That's the reason these two rules have been placed in for World Liberty Financial. That's the reason. It's because those are the two major rules that the SEC has currently. Only US investors, only accredited investors. If they are in that position, they're allowed to essentially give their money or put their money wherever they so choose. And so, moving past that 63% number, that's the number for public sale. I would like to include at this point that they stated that all of these tokens are not an investment. They are not to make money. They are non-transferable. Once you buy this token and it is in your wallet, it cannot leave your wallet. And that means you cannot ever expect to make money back for whatever you spent on it. If you spent $100 per token, I'm making these numbers up, just so you know, guys. If you spent $100 on the token, you are never getting that $100 back or any return. That is what they said. They said that explicitly. This is not an investment to make money. You will not, for owning World Liberty Financial, earn any yield. It will not be transferable. It will not be sellable. That is what they said. And I think in and of itself, major questions have to be had there. They say it's a governance token. And so, by owning World Liberty Financial, whatever percentage of the token you own will be your percentage of the vote on what World Liberty Financial as a platform does. We don't know what that those votes may include. They didn't share any of that information. All we know is that by owning World Liberty Financial, you will have a vote in regards to what the World Liberty Financial platform does. That is it. That's what we know at this point in time. I have gone through ever since the announcement on Monday. World Liberty Financial on Telegram has been silent. They've been silent on Twitter. Their website has been silent. They have been silent universally. They have not put out any more information. So right now, all we have to operate off of is what we did know, what they did share. And that is, it's a governance token. 63% will be sold to US accredited investors, and it will not be transferable, and it will not be in order to make money. Now, moving beyond that, 63% public sale, 17% of the tokens will be for rewards. Rewards. What those are, I don't know. They didn't say. They just said 17% of the tokens will be for rewards. Whatever those rewards are for or doing what, I don't know. I don't know. Now, the last 20% will be for the World Liberty Financial Team and the Trump family. And so 20% of the tokens will be for the team or for the Trump family. And it was stated that they would be presented to the team and the family as a matter of compensation. Another big question mark here. Another big question mark here. Because remember, the tokens can't be sold. It's not an investment. We're not making money. All we have is a vote. Why would you give anyone compensation in a token that can't be sold? How are they paying their bills? That would be a question to me, and it remains a question that is entirely unanswered. Ultimately, 20% goes to the team and the Trump family. 17% goes to rewards, whatever that means, and 63% is to be sold to accredited investors. That's what we know about the token right now. And that's it. If you're seeing or hearing anything other than that, it is not verified and it is not true. We don't have any rumors at this point. We don't have any leaks. That's all we got. We know the general tokenomics, which is the word that's used in the crypto space in replace of the economics of a specific token. You would say the tokenomics of World Liberty Financial, and that would mean you'd be discussing how the tokens are broke down, how they're allocated, and how the token works. That would be what you're saying by using that word. And so we just know that. Beyond that general token breakdown, all we know beyond that is that they plan on providing loans. They believe, and I would agree with them, that there's a major issue in the United States and in a lot of the world in regards to having everyone have full access to the financial system and to the credit system. And so they want to provide a solution there. On top of that, World Liberty Financial is looking to push or provide a stable coin option backed by the US dollar. Now, they were vague on this. Maybe they mean a gold-backed US dollar. Maybe they mean something else of that nature. But ultimately, all they said was US-backed. The assumption is dollar. We don't know. A US-backed stablecoin, because ensuring that there is a US-backed stablecoin on the market that is available and ready for global trade is a matter of protecting the dollar's dominance. And so that's where they kind of brought in a little bit of politics to the discussion, is that World Liberty Financial would be pushing a stablecoin in order to protect the US dollar and its dominance globally. Interesting way of framing it. In my opinion, a lot of question marks around the entire thing. In my opinion, a lot of question marks, because I honestly do not look at this and have a lot of warm fuzzies going off right at the beginning. I think everyone that was with me on Monday as we were watching live probably noticed it was not what I wanted to hear. No part of it was what I wanted to hear. I was not happy with the information that we were given. Now, I do think, and I said it that evening, we do need to be patient. Ultimately, we were given in that conversation and in that voyeuristic listening experience, we were given a lot of insight to potentially the people that are influencing the Trump family and where they are going with this. In that regard, I saw them discussing a new financial system, but in a very much beta format. Now, for those that aren't aware, beta is typically the word that's used in software or development worlds to state that something is not ready to go. What they talked about last night is either in beta form or it is in more of a venture capitalist type point. They're still looking for money to make the thing happen. They don't have anything built. There is no immediate anything coming out from World Liberty Financial, judging by that first announcement. They're not close to having this ready. They're not even in the ballpark of having this ready. It sounds like they're still on the whiteboard. They're still deciding what it's going to do. That in and of itself, maybe that's their way of easing us into the conversation, or maybe that's because it really ain't built yet. It's one of the two. Judging by the words, the terminology, and the way that they talked, I believe that there is nothing built. Nothing built yet. Or whatever is being built is not ready for the public at all. That would be my general gut feeling from listening to all of them. And so now that I'll get off of my podium, get off of my soapbox, and start to go through and answer some of the questions that folks have, because I bet it gets us into some very, very interesting ones, because I have a lot of questions also. I have a lot. Hey, Patricia Lee, though, says, Zester, go look at Truth Social. President Trump just became the first president to send a transaction using Bitcoin. That is awesome, Patricia. And yes, he has, at least as far as we know. I don't know how some of these different people in the Ukraine and Russia have been getting paid by the Biden administration, but I would wonder if maybe they've received a crypto payment along the way. But you're totally correct, Patricia. He will be the first and has been the first president to actually send a transaction. If Biden has or anyone else has, it definitely wasn't them doing it. It was someone that works for him. Robbie Buck, even if anyone is a high-end investor, why go with that token that has nothing but the Trump name behind it? I know what XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, etc. are all about. It's a big gamble to me. I agree, Robbie. I agree. Now, I will at the very end, after I go through everyone's questions, I will give what I think is actually going on and what I think their long-term plan might be. But ultimately, I don't know. We're going to probably find out just about at the same time. But I would agree entirely, Robbie, that why? With what they've currently given us, why? I'm never going to get my money back. And I don't even know what I get to vote on. I mean, it might be something if I knew what I'm voting on. At least then I would be able to weigh and balance that in my mind and say, is it worth it or not? Is it worth having a vote or not? Is it important? And until we get more answers, we're not even going to know. Louise, Zester, you have the unique ability to explain this complex situation in 10 minutes, what it took Liberty Financial 2 hours. Thank you, Zester. Thank you, Louise. Thank you very, very much. And I try my best, but in all honesty, I feel like I get distracted a lot along the way because these are very complex topics. There is a lot going on in regards to each one of the points. The very fact it's built on Ethereum. There's a 24-hour conversation to be had just there. And who knows how many hours of education on the terminology. But in all honesty, a lot of it is more simple than folks like to share. Gatekeeping is something I feel is very, very common in the tech fields. And the way that they gatekeep is by overcomplicating. and this is something I can absolutely attest to in a personal way. They will go through and use every SAT higher level graduate student word that they possibly can find just to confuse the average person who is learning about their new tech. They use buzzwords. And I could point to some of those in the Trump and the World Liberty Financial announcement. We're going to bank the unbanked. Unbanked. Buzzwords. Sounds nice. How you going to do it? Sounds real nice. I love hearing it. I'd love it to be real. But ultimately, you just used a very confusing sentence to lead people astray. And there are countless others where you'll see people utilize terminology that isn't understandable. And I think that in and of itself is a way of kind of keeping people from being knowledgeable. If we're knowledgeable, well, then we'd make smart decisions. I'm very questioning of it. I wonder whether it's just that it's general and that they're not using specific terminology because it's still in the development phase and it's not time to be specific yet, or if they're using that verbiage because they want the average viewer to be confused. I tend to, and I'll say this unapologetically, I tend to be biased where I believe that the Trump family is looking out for as many people as they can. I believe that. At least as many people as they can. But ultimately, I have a very strong argument to be made on both sides of that, whether they're using these terms in order to be more general or whether they're using these terms to be more complicated. Yep, musical lady. A lot of outstanding questions to be had for sure. Be very cautious until we get more information. Absolutely. Absolutely, musical lady. You're totally correct. Yep. Savvy, I have issue with buying a vote. Hey, it's that in and of itself is a whole other conversation about how democracy is supposed to work. I mean, look at the Democritus in regards to the political stage of ancient Greece and how democracy worked in its first form, at least as far as we're taught in terms of our history classes, that the first democracy were the ancient Greeks. And look at how their democracy worked. Land owning males with a lot of money. Those are the only ones that had a vote. Is that democracy? I don't think so. I don't think that is true to the nature of what we believe democracy to be. Tahoe, to me, sounds like a new digital good old boys club. Hope I'm wrong. Tahoe, I agree. It does sound a lot like, well, all the rich guys get to participate. Rich people get to have their voice heard. And all of us peasants just need to be happy that we get our bread rations. It does feel that way. But I know from my experience in the industry that is probably not intentional. It is a gray area with the SEC. If the Trump family and the Trump kids had said, hey, everybody is allowed to buy it. You're all allowed to buy it. You're all going to get to buy it at the same price. It's all good. They would have immediately been issued a variety of different angrily worded documents by the SEC. The SEC chooses who they want to chase after. They are not a law enforcement agency in the same way that we would imagine a law enforcement agency, where they have an obligation to chase after crime. Of course, our modern one doesn't, but they should be. That's how it's supposed to work. In regards to the SEC, they have the right to chase after you in a criminal fashion. They do not have the obligation to do so. And so if the Trump family were to in any way infringe upon any gray area of the SEC's jurisdiction, the SEC would absolutely love the opportunity to chase the Trump family down. And so they decided with World Liberty Financial to follow the rules. Following the rules is a good thing. It is a good thing. But ultimately, when the rules don't make sense, who's wrong and who's right? When the laws are unjust, when the laws are unconstitutional, well, then is following the law unconstitutional? If you follow a law that is unconstitutional, are you not doing something that is unconstitutional? How do we make this? How do we make this split between the two? If you follow regulations that are unconstitutional, what you did was unconstitutional. A whole conversation and philosophical and political debate to be gotten into there, but I have questions all around. Set Medic, perhaps they're setting up for us post RV. Set Medic, this is something that I have had a lot of thought and time about, because they have given us a lot of how a new system would work in regards to the philosophical discussion they had. But they didn't say they were doing it. They gave us a lot of conversation about what crypto and what World Liberty Financial could do. What they didn't ever say was what World Liberty Financial is doing. And to me, that's really important. The great words and that thing, that is nothing more than foreplay. I'm done with the appetizer. I would like to eat now, please. And that in and of itself is where I'm impatient about having more information, because they did start a soft toss towards getting people thinking about the way that, say, our loan system works. Donald Trump Jr. talked about that for a while, talking about the fact that for the vast majority of people, if you needed $100 to pay your bills, but you're getting paid on Friday, but you have to pay the bill on Thursday, that you are going to get screwed in order to do it. And that World Liberty Financial could solve that problem. That you wouldn't have to go beg a bank or a credit card company to give you a $100 loan so you could pay the bills when you're going to get paid tomorrow. But your power is going to get shut off today. They talked about that. And those are the things that crypto can solve. Those are the things that blockchain technology can do. And that's why I get so excited about it, because I know that human beings' lives, Americans' lives, can be better. Our lives can be better. They can be filled with less stress. They can be filled with less BS and more enjoying our God-given life, because as far as I know, it's pretty important what we do on this firmament. And so those things are important. Those things were a part of the conversation, and maybe that's what they're doing, Set Medic. Maybe we just started the conversation. Maybe that is entirely it. Elizabeth Juarez, sounds sketchy. Excellent job on explaining this, Esther. Thank you. Well, thank you, Elizabeth, for that and for being here. And I would say, I, in all honesty, I would only buy with the information I have right now, just because I would want to have intimate knowledge of it in order to help other people in the community. With just what has been presented right now, I wouldn't take my pocket change and throw it at it. I wouldn't give them my pocket change. Well, I wouldn't give them the 2 quarters and a few lucky pennies. I wouldn't. Until we get more information, we're not going to be able to make an educated decision. Yeah, savvy. So lower financially capable have no say on how something works in crypto, and they expect us to use it. I agree. I agree, savvy. 100%. 100%. I agree, Savvy. Yeah, Google it, Zester. Yes, Zester. I saw the look on your face, not happy with the information. I was not. And I was worn out after listening for that long. And I was not happy about what they shared at all. After that long of a wait, I felt like we had earned at least a little bit more information. But Savvy, yeah, they're setting it all up. They are setting it all up. And so I'm going to try and catch up with chat now and see what some of the new questions are coming in, guys. Sorry for anyone I missed. All right. But Denise Brown, do we want to have people who don't understand the future of crypto making decisions? Not many people even know about it yet. Denise, that I agree and disagree at the same time. It goes back to the ancient Greek democracy. So the landed males with a lot of money got to vote. In a logical way, that makes sense. In one vein of logic, that makes sense, because they would be the people who have the most knowledge and understanding of what's necessary to make a society and a community flourish. They have the most vested interest. They have the most to lose. In one way, that makes sense. But do we want to go back to that world? We understand the issues with it also. It comes with issues on the opposite side. When you silence the majority, that's not the democracy we imagine. When the majority are silenced, it's not what we imagine. But you're right, Denise. Wouldn't we want the people the most knowledgeable making decisions on their specific field? If I were to say that, hey, we should make a decision on the legal field in regards to how the law works, wouldn't we want a bunch of lawyers and judges to be the ones helping us make those changes? That seems logical. But think about it. Think about it from the other side. What are the lawyers and the judges going to do? If they get to make the decisions, they're going to protect their power. They're not going to protect us. But if we were to make changes to the legal system, you'd think that those would be the people to put in charge of making those changes. But ultimately, they're just going to protect themselves. Humans are inherently selfish. It is built in to us on a psychological and a deep, deep level. We will do that on average, always. And it's the reason we exist. We would not exist if we did not have certain things that were preordained, pre-taught into our brains. And one of those things tends to be selfishness. And so if we were to say that we would like only the people knowledgeable about cryptocurrency to make the decisions about what cryptocurrency does in the future, the people that are knowledgeable now are going to maintain their power and maintain their influence, and they're going to ensure that the legal structures and the legislative structures benefit them. It makes it very difficult, Denise. I agree with you, though. I think that was an amazing question, Denise Brown, and that's something that we really, really do. We need to think about that not just in the field of cryptocurrency. We need to think about that in the field of everything. When it comes down to every different issue, do we trust only a cop to give us information and insight into how we should change law enforcement? I don't think that makes sense. Should we only trust a banker to tell us about how the banking system should work? No. The banker will protect himself. The politician will protect himself. The crypto bro will protect himself. I wonder on that front, Denise, because it leads to a very, very complicated philosophical question in regards to the best way of managing human efforts. And it is not there is no clear correct answer. Robbie Buck, the future of finance is digital assets and tokenization. I absolutely agree, Robbie. Amazing how few people know what's going on with the dollar and banking dying. My grandson and daughter think I am crazy for buying them XRP. Robbie, you're not crazy, and you are far ahead of the curve because it is going to happen. Digital assets and tokenization are going to dominate our economic system in the coming years and decades and for generations. And you are totally correct. Totally correct. And yes, there are many people that are not open-minded to it. And I understand why. I get it. It's not fun. It's not fun to learn about it first at all. But if we ever want to get out of the cycle of government control and authoritarianism, we as people have got to make that change. Ultimately, if we go and we make the same system and the same mistakes that were made in the past, we may have 30 years, 40 years of financial freedom and of equality, of opportunity. We may have that time. But we will devolve right back into the same place we are today if we don't make major changes. If we just try to click the restart button and we expect that to fix it, it probably will fix it for a short amount of time. But in the long run, human nature will come back. It will. It always has. We have got thousands of years of written human history to look back upon. And at every single time, the same cycle occurs. There is not one situation in human history besides the United States of America itself that has actually diverged from the general cycle. It's only us. We're the only time in all of written human history that at any point we have managed to break the cycle. We've done it, and now we're losing it. We're losing what we've achieved. What was historically unprecedented, the United States is now losing. That means we've got to start thinking asymmetrically. We've got to look at what was succeeding, and we've got to start seeing what we can do to make it start working again. We had things going in the right direction for, literally up to the point of the millennial generation. No American had ever been born that did not have more opportunity than his parents did. No American had been born since the United States had been founded. Every generation, children had, on average, more chance to succeed than than their parents had. That had been a universal truth in the United States of America. We lost that in the 90s. We lost that actually in the 80s. We lost it under Reagan. Under Reagan, the numbers finally clicked over to the point where no longer is each American generation better off than the last. And that cycle is not going to stop unless we do something serious to stop it. And I strongly believe that the, whatever term you want to call it, the QFS, the future financial system, I don't like giving it a singular term. I know it makes things easy to have conversations, but I don't like the singular term, whether it's the QFS or blockchain or new financial or world liberty financial, whatever it is. We need that new system to learn from the past. We need a decentralized system that benefits everyone equally. Equally. How much you provide, how much you work, how much your efforts generate should be viewed in an equal way if you're a random person on the street or if you're an executive sitting at the top of a skyscraper. That is what's important. And that system has got to be infallible. Infallible. Because ultimately, it will end up being sometime in the future where bad people will get back into power and they will destroy it. I've been using the word ultimately a lot as of recent. I have been using that word a lot. I'm going to need to get Bust the Thesaurus out. But all right, guys, I have gotten very, very distracted talking on all of that. And now we have gone an entire hour talking about our update on World Liberty Financial. And we could continue this conversation, but ultimately, we're going to have opportunities to do so in the near future. And there will be a video coming out tomorrow that is a comprehensive update about World Liberty Financial. And so I'm going to take, and I already have, the video is ready, but because we were going to talk today, I wanted everyone that showed up for the live stream to get the opportunity for us to have a back and forth. Tomorrow, there will be a video dropping that is a comprehensive breakdown of what we learned from World Liberty Financial. So please look forward to that one. For a lot of folks, out there in the space that aren't paying attention to crypto, that'll be the video to share with them, because that will be more digestible for someone who is not aware of a lot of the terms or doesn't know how important this conversation is, because we're having some of the most important conversations going on the planet, and yet many, many, many folks are not aware that this is even going on. That right now there is a shadow war being waged in regards to how our finances are going to work in the future. So, thank you guys so much. I will be back on Whiskey and Wisdom at 8 p.m. And that video tomorrow will be a more comprehensive look in a shortened fashion of World Liberty Financial. So please look forward to that one. And I'm going to be looking forward to seeing everybody at 8 p.m. for what I feel like I desperately need in the form of a few cervezas. So love you guys. See you very, very soon.